have it?
I do, ma'am.
Thank you. Sir, if you could please state your name
My name is Shane Bernhardt.
and you're a police officer with the Delphi Police Department, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Before we get into that, what's your educational background?
Graduated high school, graduated the academy in 2006. 2011, became a general instructor. 2012, became an Evo instructor. 2013, became an advanced Evo instructor and a PIT instructor. PIT being pursuit intervention technique. After that, started my job here.
And what was your appointment date with Delphi PD?
August 30th of 2006.
So you have been employed here over 18 years.
Yes, just started my 18th year in August.
You kind of went through your training, but what specific law enforcement academy did you attend?
The one in Plainfield, IELA.
Okay. And what is your current rank with the department?
First class patrolman.
Okay. Can you generally describe your duties as a patrol officer?
Enforce state laws, local ordinances, patrol the city, you know, just general law enforcement.
And what shift do you currently work?
As of January 4th, I am on night shift, so 6P to 6A.
And have you previously worked day shift during
Yes.
your career?
Yes.
How many times have you changed shift over the 18 years? Have you worked at various
When we first started, we had 8-hour shifts, so it was kind of you work day shift 1 week, second shift 1 week, midnights 1 week, and then we had a day off shift where you'd work like 2 day shifts, 2 second shifts, and a night shift to cover days off. Then we went to 12-hour shifts. I don't know what year that was, but once we started day shift or 12-hour shifts, I was on days from then until just January 4th. So I was on days for probably 12 years, 10, 12 years.
Okay. So you've somewhat described briefly that during your tenure as a law enforcement officer that you are certified as a training instructor. Can you repeat for me, what are the specific areas that you are trained?
I am a general instructor, an Evo instructor, an advanced Evo instructor, a PIT instructor. I believe that's all the instructor certifications I have. I'm also a hostage negotiator, child forensic interviewer, something else I'm missing, CIT trained. So,
What's CIT?
critical incident team, mental health. The class is put on through NAMI. I've been to it twice, just to freshen up on it if anything was new, because it had been 7 years since I went. So I find that part of the job interesting.
Can you, even if you only picked one of those areas, let's say Evo, can you describe what your responsibilities are as a certified instructor?
I have to instruct the people or my police officers on how to drive a police car. There's different things. I know people think you just get in a car and you drive, but with this, there's all sorts of stuff like threshold braking, you know, all sorts of other stuff like that. So what we do is, like Chief McCain said, we send out an email, we set up a sign-up sheet, all the officers sign the sign-up sheet, it's at the jail, we set it up. Me and Officer Bishop are the only 2 police officers in Carroll County that are Evo instructors, so we have 1 DT instructor and 2 Evo instructors. I call the guy at the airport, say, hey, I need the airport on this day. And he says, okay. So he shuts it down for me one evening so we can get set up, because we go out and set up 150 to 200 cones on the runway of the airport. And then we normally start, it depends if we have it in the summer, because it gets light in the summer before it does in the winter and fall. So we will set up the night before, and then we'll have the night shift guys will come in. We'll get up and come in at 4 o'clock in the morning so that they can drive our course at night with their lights and everything going, because that's the real hands-on. And then we tear down the course. I get done with it. I bring the roster back they sign a roster, hand sign a roster, but if you know anybody, we don't write real well, so I end up typing everything out. And like Chief McCain said, it's easier if we group all the departments that we taught together. So I'll group all the Delphi officers together and typed out where everybody can read it. Carroll County Sheriff's Department, Flora, Burlington, Camden, Delphi School Resource. So I'll have them all separated, and then I have to make different copies for their training coordinator that I have to hand to them after I've signed off that they've completed their training. And then their training coordinators enter it into ACADIS, and that's their 2 hours of EVO that they need.
Okay. So I want to kind of focus in on that. You just stated you've kind of gone through the whole process that you need to do, but you specifically have that roster that you then type up, and you actually sign off on that then.
Yep.
Okay. And again, you're signing off, certifying that those participants completed the training that you put on.
Yes.
Okay. Over the course of a year, typically, how often would you conduct your training sessions for EVO?
We have one hands-on because, like, it's very, I don't want to say labor intense, but it's very time consuming. It takes us 2, 3, 4 hours to set up, and then we're there from, say, 4 o'clock till noon the next day training people. We have them come out, normally 2 at a time, but we like to stand around and talk, so normally there's 4 or 5 officers there at a time, and then I come back and I fill out the roster.
And again, the location for that, when you're actually setting up the course, that's typically going to be done at the airport?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And obviously you have to also take into account their availability to allow you to have the space to do that.
Correct.
Is that fair?
That's why we do it once a year, because I'm not going to shut down the airport for more than
And is that the only location here that you're really able to do it with the coursework?
I think when I first became an EVO instructor, we used Subaru's track one time.
Okay.
That's the only, I think I wasn't an instructor when we went to White County, but I did White County at their airport.
Okay.
But I wasn't an instructor at the time. I was just getting my hours in.
Okay. Now, a lot of this is repetitive in terms of what we've had. We really need to have your testimony on this. So, are there acceptable ways for an officer to obtain EVO training credits without participating in the driving hands-on portion of the EVO training?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Describe how that can occur.
When I went to, I think it was just a regular EVO instruction class, we actually were able to take a zip drive with us and get a PowerPoint from the IELA Academy, and their master instructors are the ones that actually put the PowerPoints together. So I have all their PowerPoints on my zip drive that I will teach if people don't come out to hands out. I mean, I realize one day a year, you may be on vacation, you may be sick, you may just not be able to make it. So that's kind of the backup plan, is my zip drive with the IELA stuff on it.
Okay. And would you agree that it's better for the training to occur hands-on?
Well, absolutely.
And that would be your preference to do
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
all the members as well? Correct?
Absolutely.
And as you've described it, these materials that you have that you would provide to someone, although you're probably qualified to prepare the materials, they're not prepared just by you. Is that correct?
No.
So those are by the master trainers from the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy?
Yes, it's exactly what they teach and exactly what we teach out at the airport with, shuffle steering, threshold braking. Yeah, that's it.
And that, in fact, is the entity that you are able to become certified to become an instructor, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I've been to the academy and helped instruct the new basic officers.
Okay. So, other than, so you pretty much described what reasons or under what circumstances training would occur in that manner. And it's really almost just unable to make it to the time that you have.
Right.
Okay. Have you ever completed any training without attending a full training session with an instructor?
Yes. In my 18 years, I can remember twice. Once I watched DVDs of Wilson's, and he signed off on the roster that I watched the DVDs. And the other time I did Police 1. I think 2018 was the last time that I hadn't been to. Every year from 2018 to now, I have attended a defensive tactics.
Okay. So the specific instances that you have done this is for the defensive tactics course?
Yes.
Okay.
Me instructing all day counts for my 2 hours of Evo.
Okay. So you get
So
your
I get my
credits
training
there.
while I'm
Okay.
instructing, yes.
Okay. And so in those instances where you've reviewed the training materials, such as the materials provided by Officer Wilson, you viewed those, and then what did you do to then obtain the credit for the training?
I told Officer Wilson that I watched the DVDs, and he filled out the proper roster and signed off that I watched the DVDs.
Okay. And in those instances, that then fulfills your training requirements in that manner, and you get the appropriate credit through the academy?
Correct.
Okay. So you believe over the 18 years, your best recollection is you having done that maybe twice? Okay. The materials that Officer Wilson has provided to you, at least the one time that you recall doing it, is it similar to what you heard him testify about here today? Were the DVDs that were Krav Maga and any other
yes.
tactics? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to hand to you a pre-marked as Exhibit A. And it's Exhibit A in 11 parts, I guess I would say. And I'm going to ask if you can identify this document, or documents. It's multi-page. Can you just look through those generally and kind of just give a brief overview of what those appear to be?
Yes, the first 8 pages are all rosters that would have been me training somebody with my PowerPoints.
Okay.
The last roster is actually what their roster would look like if you come out to the airport, and I turn this into the training administrator at the other departments plus ours.
Okay.
So this is what Chief McCain or Chief Lamar would get.
After him having identified that, I'm going to move for admission of Exhibit A.
There's no objection.
All right, Officer Bernhardt, I'd like to kind of just ask you a few questions about these. But first of all, just by looking at the front page of this Exhibit A that's now been admitted into evidence, this, in fact, is the law enforcement training roster form that we've been talking about throughout. And this is the first time I think maybe we've all seen one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.